responsibility, and third about sustainability. The fourth one, we will do some more problem solving. Some. Then we'll talk about the exam, of course. Okay, let's start with the code of conduct or code of ethics. What is this? What is a code of conduct? When you understand code of ethics or code of conduct, what do you understand? And does your firm have one? Anybody?
Code of conduct is some directions to the employees how to act in some situations.
How to act in some situations. Anybody else? What is a code of conduct or a code of ethics? You have one in your company? Or your profession?
The mission.
The mission?
It's a principle that the employee has to.
It's the principle, the values.
Not the rules, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, values indicate how we do things.
The values, the core values of the organization.
How we do business, how we do things, how we. The mission is
Not the mission. The companies have vision, but they have also core values, and they have also a code of conduct.
Yes. So if the mission is what we do, the values is how we do it, right?
If the mission is what we do, the vision could be why we do. The mission is what we do, and the values is how we do. The values, of course, what is the relationship between core values and code of conduct?
Code of conduct is how you achieve and how you behave.
Yes. Very good.
I think the code of conduct is more of internal rules, how we do things, what we do and what we don't do. Right.
Okay.
Responsibilities and obligations.
Yes.
Values are one word. Honesty, openness, and all this. A code of ethics, as our colleague said, is behavioral descriptions of what to obey to be ethical.
A code of conduct is the codification and articulation of the core values. It's the specification, the explanation, the description of the core values. Do you know the core values of CIIM? We get them. Who will do it? George? You want to find them on the computer here?
Yeah.
The core values of CIIM. Why you tell me what are your core values? What are your core values, Angela? Core values. Think all of you. What are your core values? How are you doing? Honesty, integrity.
Diversity and inclusion.
Diversity and inclusion. Anybody else? Your core values?
No.
Quickly, your core values, think about it. Think about it.
Think about it.
How many people speak Arabic in this room? These two? I'd like to talk to you in the break, okay? Some opportunity arose and see whether you are interested. Okay? So I don't forget. Core values, who is ready to tell us? Yes?
Innovative, passionate, driven, focused.
Yeah, but okay, it could be, but we should not just mention them like this. There will be values that you are willing to give your life for. You are going to stand by them no matter what. That's what describes you. That's your DNA.
Self-products that we are proud of them. And quality is no debate, and health and safety is no debate.
Okay. Family. Okay.
My core values are faith and
Goodness. You found them? You go to About CIIM.
Yeah.
Okay, there they will find them. About go to CIIM stories. Should be more easy to find them. Okay, what are the values of CIIM? You see, it has vision, mission, values.
This is what I said, and you said no.
Huh? What did I say? I
Didn't
just
say excellent.
did I say no? I never said it's no. I never said no. Okay, but the different organizations have different values. You can put for us also the video, just to have it ready, huh? Yeah. Okay. What do we have here for CIIM? Doesn't like this one? Why does this doesn't work? No, but just put the video in the machine. Just make it ready. Okay. For CIIM, the core values are. This doesn't work. Excellence. When you enter the building at CIIM Nicosia, and it's going to be here too, it says relentless pursuit of excellence, or passion for excellence. Okay? That means what? That means we don't determine the faculty or the faculty that teach here, or the students that we admit on any other criterion except quality. Okay? Excellence. Of course, we should describe this, what we mean by excellence. Then integrity. Integrity means what? What means integrity? How do you understand the cost of integrity to meet?
I think integrate person is a person who tells and make in what he believes.
Yes. I will say something about Ivan. Ivan is a good example for many students at CIIM and elsewhere. Ivan's English is not that good, but he has one characteristic. He doesn't hesitate to speak. This means he's going to get a lot from CIIM, and one day his English is going to be so perfect, better than many of us who have much better English now, but are hesitant to participate. It's an example that I always make in class when somebody feels, yes, my English may not be as good, I mean, I have difficulties, but that's the way I'm going to do it, so I will participate, right? So it's an example for you. For many of you, this is the first class. It's for you the first class, right? Or second?
No, it is my fourth class.
Your fourth, okay. Good. So by the time you finish CIIM, I guarantee that your English is going to be a lot better if you continue participating in the project.
I hope.
Okay. So integrity is what? Integrity is, in Greek we say honesty. What does it mean? What does it mean integrity?
Honest.
Honesty is one dimension.
Well-balanced, mature personality.
Anybody else?
You stick to your moral beliefs.
You have values and you stick to it. You stick to them no matter what. This is integrity. Okay? Integrity, you don't run for the tall grass when things get tough. As they say, you have integrity, it's the one who gets it. What do they say? When the going is tough, the tough get going. You have to be tough. There is a toughness. There is a courage. There is consistency. There is ethical stature in integrity. Honesty is simply to tell you're honest. You don't lie. It's a small part. Integrity means character. Integrity means you have a well-rounded personality, which has, you have values and you stick to it. Okay. Another value of CIIM is innovation. We are determined that whatever we do, we will try to make things, to think creatively, to think outside the box, not to just memorize things, but try to find new ways of doing things. Okay? To differentiate, to imagine. Another one is a catalyst of change. We want to be catalyst of change. You want to embrace change. You want to accelerate change, to promote change. We don't want the status quo. We have a problem with the status quo. Any status quo. Okay? And fifth, we believe in value creation. We believe that the only thing that can bring prosperity and happiness to people is if they create value for themselves, for their family, for their society, community, for the society. Without value creation, it's not a matter of just value capture. It's not just getting more things for yourself without deserving it. It's always deserving more than you get. This is the way that the world progresses, right? For example, Steve Jobs contributed to the world 1 million times more than he got for himself. This is a life worth living. But if you're in a life where you live off the others, right? You don't create value, you just manage through various ways to extract value for yourself without creating new value, but just appropriate value, that's not the life worth living. So we believe in value creation, whatever we do, and we believe that values, ethical values, create economic value. The only value that is sustainable, the only economic value that is sustainable is the one that is based on solid moral principles, on solid ethical values. And the last one here is community service. We believe that we should not be mercenaries. We should not want to be paid for everything. Right? Tomorrow I have so much work to do. Nevertheless, I agree at 11:45 to get in the car and go all the way to Larnaca from Nicosia to give a talk to the teachers or to the kids. I think it's always for the kids. Talk to the high school kids, middle school kids about issues of ethics, issues of innovation, and things like this. They don't pay me. I don't have to do it. Nobody forced me to do it. It would take 2.5 hours of my time. I have to pay gasoline, depreciation of my car, right? And the work I have to do, I will have to stay late at night doing it. No problem. Today, last night I was giving a talk at on corporate governance at the Cleopatra Hotel in Nicosia to 200 accountants. And then they called me after I finished. They took us out to eat at 9 o'clock, and we went in a nice fish restaurant, you know, Pixida, Nicosia. So you know it, right? You know it. Nobody knows Pixida? No. It's the best fish restaurant you see. Anyway, we were there, and as soon as they started serving the food, the phone rang, and they wanted me to talk on the phone about the ethics, business ethics, from a radio station in Crete. So I said, okay, I never thought, I thought it would be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It went from 9 o'clock to midnight, 3 hours. Fortunately, I was on Skype. But the point is this, I had no food, still I feel that I created a lot of value. Because a lot of people, it went 3 hours, it meant to be an hour, but there were so many people calling in, and it was so interesting for them that somebody could combine ethics and profitability, ethics and business, ethics and innovation, that there were so many people calling in, I couldn't get off there. Anyway, I left, I went home, and I ordered a pizza. I didn't even order a pizza. But the point, I feel I created value. I don't mind, I didn't have the wonderful fish that they brought there. And, okay. And then I arrived home and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. Then I realized that this morning I had to go at 9 o'clock to have a meeting with the Minister of Labor, along with Ms. Saris, the two of us, to talk about employment and social policy of the government. Right? The President asked us to do that because she's not an economist, she may not understand the economic issues behind it. So, and I have a plan. I have a copy with me, one that I can make a copy for you. And so I had to sit all night, right, without sleeping at all, to write the proposal. I gave you the proposal. I was rushed, went to the office to print it, rushed to the ministry, and as soon as we arrived there with Pisaitis and with the meeting, the president calls, just have come back from Kuwait, and said that he wants the minister to go to the presidential palace, and they have. So we left. I went back to my office. I gave the paper and went back to my office. I should have been very upset about this, right? Very upset. They said they changed the meeting, and the meeting will happen next week. Okay, I should be very upset. But, okay, I think in the process I created some value. It's okay if I didn't sleep. It's not a problem, I will sleep tonight. You have to be, if you focus on value creation, you do not get upset when some things they don't work your way. But if you focus on value creation just for yourself, not for the community, then it's a different story. This morning I thought maybe at 7 o'clock, I would maybe sleep a few minutes. The phone rings and it's the local radio to talk about problems with the banks and the Fitch. Okay. I mean, you say, sorry, I cannot talk to you. I don't know. If you have that kind of desire to create value, if you believe you create value, then it's okay. So you have to adopt, it's a matter of attitude. That, okay, maybe I cannot create value, but I think I can. If you think you can, it's like Ivan does. He says, okay, my English is not perfect, but I will try. Trying is very important. Can-do attitude, I like this, a can-do attitude. Okay, so value creation and community service and value creation go together. Because if we create value just for ourselves, we are not different than animals. That's what animals do. What do we want is to create value also for the community. Okay? Try to make the world we live a better place.
Just what you just said, sir, is whenever
I'm not sir, I'm Theo. You didn't know my name.
Whenever I see a card written down towards the donation of that association, whenever I see a bench or a West Beach Street is a donation, then you smile saying, okay, my money or those people's money went somewhere too. So if I see this donation of CIIM, I would say part of my tuition worked towards that direction. It's good, but
well, it's good, but I think what as we learned today in CSR, to be careful about doing child with other people's money. Make child with our own money, not with other people. The banks, CITA was very generous. CITA was sponsoring. I remember Miss Watermelon, Miss Grapes, Miss Cherry. Okay. With whose money? With our money. Artists and monopolies, you were charging us, taking the money, sponsoring all those. And this is not corporate social responsibility. This is basically being too loose with other people's money. Okay. So we understand what are the core values. Everyone has to have core values. If you don't have core values, you are like a candle in the wind. A candle in the wind. You know Elton John, right? Elton John's song, A Candle in the Wind. Well, if you don't have core values and stand by them, you have no anchor. You have no, like a boat without, okay. Core values is what defines you. Core values is what gives you your particularity, what gives you a differentiation, what gives you a strength, what gives you the character you have, what makes you different than other people. I like you to listen to an audio. There's a great book. There's an author called, he's a professor at Stanford. He was one of the most famous authors on business management books. His name is Jim Collins. You know Jim Collins? Jim Collins, anybody read any of his books?
I think at university.
Which one? Well, there are, I can mention 3 books. One is called From, we're not going to put that on, it's something else. From Can you bring a coffee too? Oh, there's a coffee. Oh, yeah. Oh my God, it's spilled all over the place. No. Just this one. It's called, one of the books is called Built to Last. Built to Last. Another book is called From Good to Great. Another book is called, there's the recent one,
Great's awesome.
I
don't know.
It's about the downfall of big companies. It's the last one. I don't know exactly the title. Anyway, Jim Collins, in one of his books called Built to Great, it's companies, visionary companies that lasted more than 100 years.
Good to great.
Good to great. And Jim Collins tried with his co-author, Jerry Porras, tried to find out, they surveyed hundreds of companies and they tried to find out what is the secret of companies that lasted more than 100 years. What they call visionary companies. And what they found that the common thing they had, all of them had core values, from 3 to 6 core values, as their anchor, as their stability. And they would change everything about themselves except their core values. Everything else changes. Their policies, their strategy, their operations, their product, their markets, everything. You change everything because the world changes. The only thing you don't change is your core beliefs, is your philosophy, is your core values. Okay? And you are going to hear many companies here who have core values and lasted for so many years. And of course, you are going to hear about Johnson & Johnson as well. I'm going to show you the credo, and you are going to see the credo now in a few minutes. But I want you to listen to Jim Collins and Jerry Porras. They are reading that book themselves. And you are hear them talking about core values, okay? So, listen to what they say, and how important is that core values for your business and for yourself, not only business, organization. Today, the other day I was talking to the World Bank, a group which is doing the reform of the public service, and one of the things I proposed, and they agree totally, is that the public service need to adopt some clear core values and turn them into a code of conduct for the civil servants. Otherwise, and they say, if you have, how can you have someone among yourselves who take 180 days sick leave every year? That person should have been pushed out by the others because it would not be part of the culture of the organization. This doesn't belong, it's a fish out of the water. Therefore, what it means, you have core values for the culture, but it's somewhere locked, nobody knows about it. And you have it as a piece of paper. So let's listen about core values. Values that never or very rarely change, right? If ever. And then define the organization. Okay, let's see. I don't know if he's here. Let's see if he's here. You have the notes here, the credo, oath, credo. Okay, I have to get out of this and get it from, let's see, here. If you see it, let me know, okay? You see the book videos. Do you see Jim Collins here?
J.J. Credo, one?
No, that one. Jim Collins. Let's try to do a search.
You can search.
Yeah.
There.
Okay, let's go. No, there's two core values. Core values. No, nothing. Then where I have it?
You can search in the whole USB.
Yeah, in the whole USB, yes. You're right. No,
There's a Kingston on the left side, down below.
let's do this one. See if we can find it. No?
Just put core.
What? What's that?
Only core.
Just put core, maybe you don't have the like.
No, but I find it. What is that? I don't understand what you're talking about. I assume it's something funny. Very good.
Maybe it's in Greek because we had subtitle if you got it in Canada.
No, it's not. Why don't I have it here? Values report, the UBS, platform videos. Jim calling it down. I would like you to listen to it. But maybe, I don't believe I don't have it here. I should have it here. Must be. You know.
Maybe in the website, we found it in the website.
Here it is, guys. Here it is. Okay, ready? Okay.
Core values. Thomas J. Watson Jr. Core values. Thomas J. Watson Jr., former IBM chief executive, commented on the role of core values, what he calls beliefs, in his 1963 booklet, A Business and Its Beliefs. I believe the real difference between success and failure in a corporation can very often be traced to the question of how well the organization brings out the great energies and talents of its people. What does it do to help these people find common cause with each other? And how can it sustain this common cause and sense of direction through the many changes which take place from one generation to another? I think the answer lies in the power of what we call beliefs and the appeal these beliefs have for its people. I firmly believe that any organization, in order to survive and achieve success, must have a sound set of beliefs on which it premises all its policies and actions. Next, I believe that the most important single factor in corporate success is faithful adherence to those beliefs. Beliefs must always come before policies, practices, and goals. The latter must always be altered if they are seen to violate fundamental beliefs. In most cases, a core value can be boiled down to a piercing simplicity that provides substantial guidance. Notice how Sam Walton captured the essence of Walmart's #1 value. We put the customer ahead of everything else. If you're not serving the customer or supporting the folks who do, then we don't need you. Notice how James Gamble simply and elegantly stated P&G's core value of product quality and honest business. When you cannot make pure goods of full weight, go to something else that is honest, even if it is breaking stone. That's really what it's all about. The core value can be stated a number of different ways, yet it remains simple, clear, straightforward, and powerful. Visionary companies tend to have only a few core values, usually between 3 and 6. In fact, we found none of the visionary companies to have more than 6 core values, and most have less. And indeed, we should expect this. For only a few values can be truly core. Values so fundamental and deeply held, they will change or be compromised seldom, if ever. Core values do not come from mimicking the values of other companies, even highly visionary companies. They do not come from following the dictates of outsiders. They do not come from reading management books, and they do not come from sterile intellectual exercises of calculating what values would be most pragmatic, most popular, or most profitable. When articulating and codifying core ideology, the key step is to capture what is authentically believed, not what other companies set as their values or what the outside world thinks the ideology should be. In a visionary company, the core values need no rational or external justification, nor do they sway with the trends and fads of the day, nor even do they shift in response to changing market conditions. Robert W. Johnson Jr. didn't write the Credo because of a conceptual theory that linked credos with profits or because he read it in a book somewhere. He wrote the Credo because the company embodied deeply held beliefs that he wanted to preserve. George Merck II deeply believed that medicine is for the patient, and he wanted every Merck person to share that belief. Thomas J. Watson Jr. described IBM's core values as bone deep in his father. As far as he was concerned, those values were the rules of life: to be preserved at all costs, to be commended to others, and to be followed conscientiously in one's business life. In sifting through the Hewlett-Packard Company archives, we came across the following statement by David Packard. In 1949, I attended a meeting of business leaders. I suggested at that meeting that management people had a responsibility beyond that of making a profit for their stockholders. I said that we had a responsibility to our employees to recognize their dignity as human beings and to assure that they should share in the success which their work made possible. I pointed out also that we had a responsibility to our customers and to the community at large as well. I was surprised and shocked that not a single person in that meeting agreed with me. While they were reasonably polite in their disagreement, it was quite evident they firmly believed I was not one of them, and obviously not qualified to manage an important enterprise. Hewlett, Packard, Merck, Johnson, and Watson didn't sit down and ask, what business values would maximize our wealth? Or, what philosophy would look nice printed on glossy paper? Or, what beliefs would please the financial community? No, they articulated what was inside them, what was in their gut, what was bone deep. It was as natural to them as breathing. It's not what they believed as much as how deeply they believed it. Purpose. Purpose is the set of fundamental reasons for a company's existence beyond just making money. When properly conceived, purpose is broad, fundamental, and enduring. A good purpose should serve to guide and inspire the organization for years, perhaps a century or more. P. Roy Vagelos, looking 100 years into the future, described the enduring role of purpose at Merck & Company. Imagine that all of us were suddenly transported to the year 2091. Much of our strategy and methods would have been changed by developments we cannot anticipate. But no matter what changes might have occurred in the company, I know we would find one thing had remained the same, and the thing that matters most, the spirit of Merck people. A century from now, I believe we would feel the same esprit de corps. I believe this above all because Merck's dedication to fighting disease, relieving suffering, and helping people is a righteous cause, one that inspires people to dream of doing great things. It is a timeless cause, and it will lead Merck people to great achievements during the next 100 years. Indeed, a visionary company continually pursues but never fully achieves or completes its purpose, like chasing the Earth's horizon or pursuing a guiding star. Walt Disney captured the enduring, never-completed nature of purpose when he commented, "Disneyland will never be completed as long as there is imagination left in the world." Disney can evolve from rinky-dink cartoons to full-length animated movies to the Mickey Mouse Club to Disneyland to box office hits to Euro Disney and who knows what in the 21st century, yet never outgrow the core task of bringing happiness to millions. Sony can evolve from rice cookers and crude heating pads to tape recorders to transistor radios to Trinitron color TVs to VCRs to the Walkman to robotic systems and to who knows what in the 21st century, yet never finish pursuing its core purpose of experiencing the sheer joy of applied technological innovation that brings about untold pleasure and untold benefits and the elevation of the Japanese culture. In short, a visionary company can, and usually does, evolve into exciting new business areas, yet remain guided by its core purpose. Not all of the visionary companies began life with well-articulated core values and purpose. A few did. Robert W. Johnson, for example, had a sense of J&J's purpose from the moment he conceived the company to alleviate pain and disease. So did Masato Ibuka of Sony when he wrote the company's 1946 prospectus. But others like HP and Motorola didn't pin down their ideology until after the company had solidly passed the initial startup phase, often a decade or so after founding, but usually before they became big companies. In the early stages, most visionary companies just tried to get off the ground and make a go of it, and their ideology became clear only as the company evolved. So if you haven't yet articulated a core ideology because you've been in the throes of getting your company going, that's okay. But the earlier the better. In fact, we encourage you to set aside the time to articulate your ideology now. In the final chapter of this audio reading, Building the Vision, I will lead you through some key steps and present a practical framework for how to get your values and purpose right.
Okay, can I bit of this chapter continues on core values.
Chapter 4, Preserve the Core, Stimulate Progress. In the previous chapter, we presented core ideology as an essential component of the visionary company. But core ideology alone, as important and really as exciting as it is, does not, indeed cannot, make a visionary company. A company can have the world's most deeply cherished and meaningful core ideology, but if it just sits still or refuses to change, the world's going to pass it by. As Sam Walton pointed out, you can't just keep doing what works one time, because everything around you is always changing. To succeed, you have to stay out in front of that change. Or as Tom Watson Jr. embedded as a huge caveat in his booklet, A Business and Its Beliefs, if an organization is to meet the challenges of a changing world, it must be prepared to change everything about itself, except its basic beliefs, as it moves through corporate life. The only sacred cow in an organization should be its basic philosophy of doing business. Jerry and I believe that IBM began to lose its stature as a visionary company in the late 1980s and early 90s, in part because it lost sight of Watson's incisive caveat. Nowhere in IBM's 3 basic beliefs do we see anything about white shirts or blue suits or specific policies, specific procedures, organizational hierarchies, mainframe computers, or computers at all for that matter. The real 3 key principles in IBM's core values were 1, respect for the individual, 2, dedication to the customer, and number 3, the idea that IBM should seek superiority in everything it undertakes, and if it can't become superior at it, it should not do it. There's nothing in there that specifies that you need to wear white shirts and blue suits. Mainframe computers are not core values. Specific policies are not core values. IBM should have more vigorously changed everything about itself except its core values. Instead, it stuck too long to strategic and operating practices and cultural manifestations of the core values. We found that companies get in trouble by confusing their core ideology, their core values, and the specific non-core practices. By confusing what is core, the values and the purpose, and what is non-core, just merely practices and strategies and structures, companies can cling too long to non-core items, things that should be changed in order to adapt and move forward. This brings us to a crucial point in this entire book.
Very important.
A visionary company carefully preserves and protects its core ideology, its core values, and its core purpose. And yet, at the same time, all the specific manifestations of its core must be open for change and evolution. This is the cornerstone idea. Preserve the core, stimulate progress. Let me just share with you a few examples to kind of crystallize this idea. Walmart's notion of exceeding customer expectations, that's a permanent, unchanging core value. The notion of customer greeters that you see at the front door, that's not a core value. That's just simply an operating practice. If it becomes useless, you can change it. Or let's take 3M. 3M's core principle of respect for individual creative initiative. Now this is a permanent, unchanging part of its core philosophy. But the 15% rule, where people can spend 15% of their time on projects of their own choosing, that's simply a practice, it's a mechanism. It can change. Nordstrom's dedication to the ideal of service to the customer above all else, that's permanent, that's unchanging, that's a core value. On the other hand, its regional geographic focus, or its piano players in the lobby, its overstocked inventory management systems, these are all simply non-core practices that can change. If the values remain constant, Nordstrom remains great. If the practices change, Nordstrom remains great. Merck's fundamental driving ideal that we are in the business of preserving and improving human life, That's not going to change. Not if Merck remains a great company. That's unchanging. It's part of its core. It's its core purpose. Its commitment, on the other hand, to research targeted at specific diseases, well, that's a strategy. And if at some point they need a different strategy, like, say, buying biotech companies, well, the strategy can change while the core purpose remains fixed. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, pause and take this point in. It's absolutely essential to not confuse your core values and your core purpose with culture, strategy, tactics, operations, policies, or other non-core practices. Over time, your culture must change. Over time, your strategy has to evolve. Over time, the things you actually do, your product lines or your services must change, your goals must change, your competencies must change, your administrative policies must change, your organization structure must change, your reward systems must change. Ultimately, the only thing a company should not change over time is its core ideology. That is, if it wants to be a visionary company. And this brings us to the central concept of the book, that underlying dynamic of preserve the core and stimulate progress, that is the true DNA of a visionary company. I'd like you to picture a yin and yang symbol. And think of it as that on one side of the yin-yang is the core philosophy, the core values, the core purpose, the core ideology, those kind of ideals and tenets. But on the other side of the yin-yang, hand in hand with it, is a drive for progress. So you have on the one hand, core philosophy, core values, core purpose, core ideology. Think of core ideology as a single term that captures all of those ideas. And on the other hand, drive for progress. Core ideology works hand in hand with a relentless drive that impels change and forward movement in all that is not part of that core ideology. The drive for progress arises from a deep human urge to explore, to create, to discover, to achieve, to change, to improve. The drive for progress is not some sterile intellectual recognition that progress is healthy in a changing world, or that healthy organizations should change and improve, or that we should have goals. Rather, it is deep, it is inner, it is compulsive. It is almost primal. It is a drive. If you are not productively neurotic, you don't understand the drive for progress. It is the type of drive that led Sam Walton to spend time during the last few days of his life discussing sales figures for the week with a local store manager who dropped by his hospital room. A drive shared by J. Willard Marriott, who lived by the motto, keep on being constructed, and doing constructive things until it's time to die. Make every day count to the very end. Now, speaking of Sam Walton, I'm reminded of a story. On a warm day in the early 1990s, Mr. Walton drove around Phoenix with a Walmart regional manager. Now, at the time, Walton had bone cancer and only a short time remaining in his life. And yet, here he was, looking at store sites, checking out the competition, leading employees in the Walmart cheer. He had, at that moment, I think something on the order of $8 billion of net worth. Do the math. Something like 4 years to live and $8 billion of net worth. He could probably make it to the end. And yet, there he was, still working, still building Walmart. Mr. Sam, the regional manager, finally asked him on that day, "Why do you keep going? Why don't you retire and enjoy life?" Walton turned, looked at him and snapped, and then said, "This is life." It's the same type of drive that led Walt Disney to bet its reputation on Disneyland with no market data to indicate the demand for such a wild dream. It's the type of drive that impelled Henry Ford to stake his whole future on the audacious goal, we're going to democratize the automobile, and thereby leave an indelible imprint on the world. It's the type of drive that spurred Motorola to live by the motto, be in motion for motion's sake. Robert Galvin used the term renewal to describe Motorola's inner drive for progress. Renewal is the driving thrust of this company. Literally, the day after my father founded the company to produce B battery eliminators in 1928, he had to commence the search for a replacement product because the eliminator was predictably obsolete in 1930. He never stopped renewing.
Preserve the core, stimulate progress. Some people say, some of us have no core, only change things all the time, only practices, we fail. Some people have core, but they stick to the same practices, they don't change, they don't evolve, and they fail. You need both. You need the core values, and you need to embrace change. Change in everything except your core values. Change your practices, change your policies, change your markets, change your products, change everything about yourself except the core values. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Now, why we need codes of ethics. Codes of ethics help solve two major market failures. Two major failures of the market is the information asymmetry. I talked to you about this. The asymmetry of information between the two parties to a transaction. The buyer and the seller, the doctor and the patient, the lawyer and the client, the priest and the confessional, the banker and the depositor. Because there is an asymmetry of information, there is lack of trust. In order to build trust, these professions have a code of ethics, which is a codification of their core values. For example, the accountants, or say the doctors and the lawyers, they have principles that they don't advertise. The Hippocrates Oath, what was it? There was a code of ethics. It was a code of conduct. It's a core value. Shall do no harm. That's the Hippocratic Oath. Still the doctors, after 2,500 years, they still give that oath. The auditors, the accountants, the bankers, the doctors, the lawyers, they have code of ethics, code of conduct. So, every company should have a code of conduct, because that solves the problem, the market failure of asymmetry of information between the parties to a transaction. Okay? The other problem we have, the other market failure, is called the principal-agent problem. And that's what was my talk yesterday to the accountants. What is the principal-agent problem? Anybody remembers from their economics course or other courses? What is the principal-agent problem? You.
It's when a stakeholder and a shareholder, basically one person acts on behalf of the other. Okay, so in this example, the stakeholders are the CEOs and board of directors, acts on behalf of the shareholders.
Right.
So this can create conflict of interest, typically. Okay, it's conflict of interest. It depends, but that's just an example. It's shareholders.
Yes. What happens in a company? Like take the banks. The banks, they have shareholders, right? The shareholders they need someone to represent them, right? They cannot, the bank of service has 100,000 shareholders. You cannot all, every day or every month, check what the management is doing, right? So, what the shareholders do, they appoint a board of governors, you remember, a board of directors. You remember recently, the shareholders of the Bank of Cyprus, which were all depositors who have been haircut, gathered together to vote for a new board of directors, right, to represent them. Now, the board of directors are called the agent of the principal. The principal are the shareholders, right? The shareholders are the principal. And the agent of the principal are the appointed board of the directors. Now, it is called the shareholders pray that the board they selected is representative of their interest, that there is coincidence of their interest with those of the board, the interest of the board with that of the shareholders. Their interests are coterminous. Are they? Are they?
It depends, isn't it?
More or less, comme ci, comme ça. It depends. For example, take the share, what about the previous board and the previous shareholders? Have they done a good job? The previous board of directors of the Bank of Cyprus and of Laiki, have they done a good job for their shareholders? No. Let alone their creditors and their depositors, who they screwed totally. What happened to the shareholders of the Bank of Cyprus? They lost everything, basically. $1 is worth 1 cent. That's not what they wanted when they appointed that board in the AGM. They were hoping that the $1 they would make it $5, not the $1 make it 1 cent. Right? So, you see that the principal appoints an agent to serve his interest, to represent his or her interests, but at the end their interests are not like this, they are not compared. Then what does the board do? Does the board manage the bank? What does the board of the Bank of Cyprus is looking for now? It's looking for a CEO, for manager, for general manager, for management. So the board will identify and appoint an agent, the CEO, okay? On the hope that the CEO will actually act the way the board wants them to act, right? Question, does Mr. Iliadis or Giannopoulos or whatever was in that position before acted the way the board wanted them to act? In some cases, like Giannopoulos, you didn't even know who was the board and who was the manager. It was mixed. In the case of Mr. Iliadis, it was the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board was the biggest borrower from the bank. How can, this is clear conflict of interest, how can you be independent chairman of the board representing all the shareholders and be also the biggest borrower? Conflict of interest, right? What we need is independence of, in fact, 51% of the members of the board have to be totally independent. They have no dealings with the bank, they don't owe any money, they don't borrow money, they don't even do business with the bank. Right, to be objective. Anyway, so the board appoints a CEO to actually manage the bank, and who reports to the board. Now, the CEO will do what? When the CEO comes in, will do all the job himself. What he will appoint? Senior managers, right? And the senior managers will be the agents of the principal, who the principal is, the CEO, right? What about the senior managers? Are they do their work themselves? No, they will appoint middle-level managers, right? And the middle-level managers then appoint branch managers.